I would like to entertain a motion or enter a motion for a 3-year contract with the Bridgman Rated Education Association teachers for the period of September 1st, 2025 through August 31st, 2028.
So moved.
Might have said that.
Second.
Mr. Motion, sir. Motion made by comment by Brent the second by Ms. Video. And discussion from our members regarding just to want to make, so I'll make a couple notes of what's in the contract. So I just want to start with, we have been in negotiations with the teachers, good faith negotiations with teachers for 2 years at this point. Last year was a 1-year contract, and this year, so that puts us to this year. So it's again, we've been in started negotiation a year before the last year. So the highlights of this contract, I think, are it changes the working year for teachers to 183 days from 184 days, which is in line with what is happening out there across the state. Districts range anywhere from 185, 186 days to 180 days. So it puts us in line with kind of average what is happening. It is 1 additional sick day per year. There is a 2% increase for steps 1 through 14. And then there's a 2% increase for the first year for everybody. And then on the second year or the third year, it's a 2% increase for steps 1 through 14. And then for 1 through 13, and then for steps 14 through 20, it is a 3% increase for the second and third year. There are other things that are in the contract, ranging from parent-teacher conferences for K through 4th, going down to 2 days, 1 day.
Yes, the
1 day on this week.
conference for elementary.
For elementary, which we had already had it this year. There's other things in the contract around how the teachers manage their sick leave thing. And there's a range of kind of, I wouldn't say housekeeping, but other things that are in the contract that were negotiated all the way from who can evaluate the teachers to, I think those are the items of the contracts. I don't, if there's questions or other discussions, or I know committee members have all looked at the contract at this point. Thank you.
I know.
Yeah, Mr. Fitzgibbons.
Mr. Powers, we make all these contracts available on our website, correct?
That is correct. So once this, if the contract is ratified, seen by the school committee, and we'll be updating the full contract to reflect the LOA those agreed initially be upon. And so we will need some time to get that done, but we will have that up.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
Grandmother numbers that have one stir for right that would like to get copies.
Sure. Do I have to lead into this or can I be huge?
If that would
Great. Yeah, so I just wanted to have the opportunity to make public comments, and we did have executive session, and not everybody will be privy to those comments. So I am going to be voting no against this, and I wanted to explain why, as opposed to just stating no from record. I'm looking at sustainability for our towns as we're both facing an override at Bridgewater and Rainham, and I'm looking at the step increase as well as the COLA adjustments year over year. And I'm looking at this on the teachers contract side, and then also town contracts. This is biased against what will be out before us, but just for context, looking at everything holistically. And as I'm looking at year over year, to me right now, I don't see the sustainability in doing this. I think that when people look at this, it's not a simple 2% year over year. It depends on where you are at in the grid, but we're looking at upwards of 12 and 16%, and in some cases, not for all cases, of course. Those are for those lower steps. And I don't mean to be misleading by stating that, but that is a fact as you go through so many steps in the lower grids. And as I do that, I don't see how the math checks out. So I just wanted to explain that to some folks that are going to be listening at home. And it's one of the priorities of mine to look at not only how we allocate money to the schools, and I'm very much in favor of doing so and paying our teachers well, but also doing so in a sustainable way, and doing that also on the town side. So those are just some of my comments.
Thank you. No, and I understand, and I know Bridgewater already now, we're in the midst of an override on full sides of the district. Mr. Powers and I have been at many info sessions. We've attended select board meetings, town council meetings. We've had discussions at this meeting, at budget meetings, and tried to be out and about in the community. Sustainability of on our budget has been top of our mind. The steps have been built into what we've been projecting. I understand it does seem like it's high incentive step to step, year to year as they move up. That has been built in, and it has been something that as a negotiation subcommittee, we worked on and have several contracts to try and compress that. I came on a school committee in 2018, and I know town councilor Phil Wood at the time, that was one of the things that he had tasked us with and had been brought to our attention. Like, we need to support your budget, but we need to compress the salary schedule. So it has been something in negotiation that we have worked on. It is an incremental thing. We haven't moved to the top column, which are the big cost saver. And I don't think after the teachers taking a direct that COLA last year, and with class sizes and the amount of special education students they have right now, I don't think this is an unreasonable with intent. Negotiations has been ongoing for several years. And with what we ask our teachers to do, we've built in the steps, which I understand is a huge concern. The COLA was also managed within what we had forecasted. It's a 2-2-2 for almost everyone. The 3 in the second and third year is for the people at the top step that are not moving up. Those 14 through 20 are sitting at the top, and they're not moving up a step. So that's why they did get that 3%. So I understand the Silverity's point. She does have to speak for his town, and she knows this budget. But I also want our communities to know that this is not something that we meshed into. And we need to know that we have been thinking about sustainability, but also supporting our teachers and our staff. Because we don't all thank them. So we have other comments, questions?
Say this for the superintendent. This percentage increase in additional years what was budgeted, correct? That is correct. And then also see the sustainability plan. It was presented both here and in front of both towns to make sure that, we're allocating positions that we're going to be in a good place moving forward for the next 3 years. That is correct. And that's why we definitely take a conservative approach in terms of adding the staff, because we wanted to make sure that our projections that there is a year-over-year to our actuals are lining up. We didn't want to get ahead of ourselves and hire too many staff and find ourselves in a situation where the position is no longer sustainable. That is a concern of ours, and those concern of the towns, so certainly concern of the voters. And so that's why we really have taken an conservative approach to be sure that any position added to the sustainable position. And as we go through a year and compare our projections to our actuals, we may find ourselves that, revenues are outpacing expenses, and we may be able to add staff at a faster rate, or just the opposite. If the expenses continue to outpace revenues, and you have to slow our projected hiring and actually in some years maybe hit a pause to ensure that any position that brought up is in fact sustainable. Thank you.
This is Davenport. I want to reiterate what has been said at the table. However, I do want to echo Story's speaking points. I will be voting no as well. And that's not because I don't appreciate our teachers. I do a lot just with this unknown result of the override hanging over all of our heads. I can't in good conscience vote for this contract, how viewing the results of that override and in the sustainability in this overtime. Please, thank you. In the middle, that's
all.
Yeah, I have to recuse myself from this vote due to my family relationships with some of the teachers under contract. But I did want to thank the negotiations committee. I think they went into this knowing what the sacrifice that they took last year with the 0% COLA and some of the things that they were able to give in lieu of salary adjustment, such as using sick time and hour increments. I know it's now codified when it was in last year, but now it's in the contract that you all are going to vote on. I think that was a smart decision. And I think that we need to retain the talent we have here and give our trust in the teachers. And if we want to keep them in district, then we need to keep moving in this direction. Thank you.
It's, it,
Well, I'm gonna be a yes. I'll say that. Just like Mr. Loretti at this town board, something kind of be knows each child completely respect, and that's certainly they're right. But what I'd like to ask Ms. Davenport and Mr. Loretti is, what would be the contract you would have supported? What percent increases, so that I know what to do better in the future? Thank you.
is what to respond.
Yeah, I think I could speak for myself. I would like to see raises along the lines of 2.5%, which is how the towns have to operate with Prop 2.5. We probably skirt that up closer to 3%, depending upon where people are in their steps and longevities. And obviously, we need to incentivize folks to stay within district. And I think that that's a worthy endeavor. But anything beyond that is going to be hard to sustain year over year. We can't count on people retiring and replacing them with cheaper teachers. It hasn't worked up until now, and I just don't see how that's going to be sustainable. So that's my opinion, and that's what I would like to see. And again, it's not only here; it's for every department and every employee of the town and every consumer.
Thank you. That was a great answer. I appreciate it.
And just to know, we do have a huge majority of our staff that are at that top step, which, does drain off our costs. For the past several years, to try and combat that and again compress our salary, we have offered an early retirement. I believe so we have budgeted that for a few years now into our budget. And we then have 3 staff members at the top, maybe 14 or higher, take advantage of that. So that's usually a kind of savings to us if they take advantage of that, because someone coming in most likely is at a lower salary schedule. And just to point out, we have been going back and forth with the teacher union for several years now regarding this. Obviously, it's a negotiation. They came in higher, we came in lower. We try and meet somewhere that's reasonable to both parties. And they did take a lot of concessions, as Ms. Bonner-Laverne said. We gig them one day. They're, instead of working 184 days, they're working 183. So those extra days that children are not in school were TD days. So this year we did that at 1 year. We added that day to contract. So again, the parent teacher conference, we decreased 1 evening in the spring for the lower grades. Again, trying to give them time that is not a salary time. So we did those concessions as well, trying instead of adding percent bonus, try and really get them time or incentives other than that.
Ms. King, I would just like to say them to counter, but we also added big stars. This next contract year is I know people are concerned about days away from school, but we also added actually a day back is Good Friday. It's which typically Good Friday has been a holiday in this district. Moving forward, it will be a half day, so it will be there will be instruction in the classroom through forward on Good Friday.
So the stairs are just
And I think given the nature of the finances of the school districts and the override, I think one of the things that's important to consider there also is controlling on destiny and having certainty and knowing what the outcome might be. And while the contract might not be a perfect contract and it might not be the fiscally conservative contract that some people, myself included, might want it to be, I'm still a yes vote, because I think it's important that we understand exactly what our financial situation is going into next year, especially as they do put the override on the table. And some of this is a reality of being in an environment, which I think we need to acknowledge. And it's not unique to the schools, it's the same police and fire and other departments. And while we work through some of these budget challenges, right, which again, in the school is the center of attention at this moment, right, it's going to require a long-term fix. So I do think it's important, though, as opposed to if we were to, I have a contract or reject a contract, the mediation might be saddled to something that my concern maybe be saddled with something that is even more than what we'd agreed to through a usual good faith negotiation on both sides. So I think, thank you to the negotiating committee and the efforts of everybody who said.
Thank you. And that is we not ratify this and we're forced to mediation. It's out of our hands. It goes to the mediator. And I don't know that they're going to be as concerned, our custodial accounts and our finances to the district, and will bring to and I think this is in line with other town departments on both sides of the district. for what they've ran 5 contracts. And I know Rainham right now, the police union is not settling. They're going to mediation. So I don't know, like there's it's going to Knox Day. So I think this is an unreasonable contract. I think that all contract negotiations, neither party is exactly happy, but I think this is the best it's going to be. I just think, especially with the override, if it settles down and you know it is become more past flight, so to speak, people will know. But like they're happy with it, whether they're not, they will know what the contract is. There won't be any uncertainty at the deal. So they will know before the end all the patient of it. And so
I think it's also just important to point out, I take in this words well with us, especially looking at the state average, the 3-year contracts that's coming in at the after December. So we're well below the state average, which I think shows a lot of dedication. And I think it shows our teacher responsibility, realizing what the situation is. And especially after they just took a 0 this year, I think we're actually in a great position that this is our fiscally responsible doing care.
thanks. And I mean, they do have an FTA rep that came to the table with that every time. And they start taking control of negotiations. They really got this. And I appreciate that they really worked with us in good faith on both sides of the table. Do you have any other best friends? I and just inside. I'm at a loss without you. This will also be a roll call made. Mr. Duffro,
Aye.
Mr. Fitzgibbons,
Yes.
yes, with honest, you're accused. Mr. Moretti,
Yep.
Mrs. Davenport, no. Mr. Bosch,
Yes.
Mrs. Conrad Labranto, yes. Emily Churtnum's act, Venice. 5 votes yes, 2 votes no, and 1 recused. Motion passes.
Thank you for coming, Mr. Burning.
Thanks, guys.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate the discussion.
Thank you, Mrs. Conrad Labranto, and the rest of the negotiation subcommittee, as well as the RA teacher union. Thank you, Mr. Loretti.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Take care.
Following this, Mr. Emerson, our legal counsel, will put together that and finalize that with the BRDA thing is. It will be signed and on the website. So right now the MOA is there and we're notified at conscience. Going back to our regular agenda, please rise and join us for the correct.
Allegiance to the flag, the United States of America, and to the republic which is as one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice.
Thank you. We'll go to public comment right now. The school committee welcomes information, concerns, and opinions from those attending the meeting. In order to give those wishing the opportunity to speak, ensure compliance with open meeting law and other legal obligations, and avoid disruption, the committee will not engage with the speaker or one another in deliberation on comments as they are presented. At its discretion, the committee may schedule issues raised by a speaker for deliberation and future meetings. To reiterate, this is the time for members of the public to voice comments and concerns regarding agenda items, and we are not able to respond at that time. If you would like a personal response, please email the committee or Superintendent Powers directly following the meeting code. I will now open up public comment for a period of 12 minutes per policy EDH, and would ask anyone who likes to speak, please approach the podium and provide your name and address, and please limit your comment to 3 minutes. So I am completing public comment at 7:31. So if anyone that would like to speak from the public,
Part of the energy, but
second. Right, saying that, the public comment will be closed at 7:31.
let them know how to do.
First comments and recognition. I just have some briefing correspondence to note. We received correspondence from the parent regarding questions and in comments regarding the pre-K B increase that was approved at our last meeting. Rainham Town official regarding the resolution that was proposed and we did not take any action on. We did receive an email from that Rainham Town official. We also did receive an email regarding Bridgewater Town official regarding his resolution that we did not take action Rainham Town Administrator thanking Mr. Cowers and I for attending the Rainham Town meeting. The Rainham Town Moderator, Mr. Donahue, thanking Mr. Cowers and I for attending the Rainham Town meeting and answering questions during that town meeting. There was an email with Jesse regarding the override and budget questions and trend lines. And a Rainham citizen had a concern regarding the state of the basketball courts and track FRMS, which Mr. Powers was going to look into. We do not have any recognition at that time, so that concludes our session.
Let's King tonight. Give a recognition
Yes, please.
to TJ Squared, the first ever Massachusetts State Robotics Championship a couple weekends ago. Congratulations to them. I know we should probably recuse ourselves from the discussion, but
I know. I need to bring them up. They're awesome.
thank you.
We have a personal height that's sake and consent agenda. I will entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented. The approval of minutes dated May 21st, 2025, June 5th, 2025. Approval of payrolls warrants dated May 29th, 2025. Rand's quarterly report, personnel report, declaration of surplus for George Mitchell Elementary School damaged library funds, approval of student handbooks, and acceptance of gifts, a cherry blossom journey from BLS 2025 8th grade class.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Fitzgibbon, second by Mrs. Davenport. All those in favor? Motion passes. Moving on to educational reports. I just have a quick update regarding the VR Student Advisory Council. Pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 71, Section 38M, I would just like to announce the Student Advisory Council. For the fall, will consist of 5 student members elected by a student body of the high school. We have rising seniors, Sophia King and Taylor Tejan who have been voted in as co-chairs for the fall. We also have rising juniors, Sydney Semexon and Marissa Brawl, and rising sophomore, Jackson Faction. So we'll look forward to meeting with them and hearing their report starting in September. Administrative and school committee report to the superintendent.
Agreed.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the school committee, members of the administrative team and staff. Good evening. I just have a brief report for you. As you know, we have been holding informational sessions for the override, the upcoming override vote on June 21st in Bridgewater and June 24th in Flingham. The town of Bridgewater schedules 3 informational sessions that we attended and shared information. We put together a joint PowerPoint for the citizens that attended and did one evening here at High School, one morning at the Senior Center, and then one evening at the Bridgewater Public Library. We have also held 2 sessions over in Rainham. We had reached out to try to schedule a third, and it was just waiting, hopefully, to get that scheduled for what we did a cable show interview with Mrs. Riley, and then we also attended the town, the select board meeting last night with the town of Rainham and presented it as well. So a slightly different format for Bridgewater. But we continue to update our website, provide as much information as we possibly can. And the town of Bridgewater is doing the same. Rainham is in the process of updating their website as well. Just we want our voters, regardless of how they're going to vote, well informed. And so we're trying to get as much information out there as possible, and we'll continue to do so leading out to the vote. Obviously, we're nearing the end of the school year. Since our last meeting, our amazing seniors have graduated, and they're on to their college and career. And I think that one of the more special moments always at graduations when the spots in colleges are students that are entering into the military. And so I just wanted to take a moment to just acknowledge that. Acknowledge all of our amazing students. And it was a great night, and many of you attended. And we've had several end of the year activities, and our students are now engaged in those. As you drive by some of our elementary schools, the middle schools, we have field day going on, end of the year dance-a-thons and field trips taking place. And I did want to just thank again the committee for their unlimited support. Obviously, we've had another great school year, even though we've been faced with some challenges. That has not caused anyone to be less supportive of the school system, and so I appreciate your support not only me, but obviously my administrative team, our amazing faculty. And I just want to take that opportunity to thank and recognize them as well. They show up each and every day, regardless of what's going on in the world around them. They enter their classrooms, enter their buildings as true professionals, true caring adults, and they truly make a difference every single day in the lives of our kids. So I'd be remiss if I didn't take that opportunity to acknowledge them. But that really concludes my report. Happy to entertain any questions that you may have.
Thank you. Do we have any questions on the content? Okay.
Thank you. All right.
Next, we have the budget subcommittee report from the week. On June 9th, the budget subcommittee met at 5:30 in the superintendent's conference room. In attendance were Mr. Fitzgibbons, Mrs. Davenport, Superintendent Powers, Associate Superintendent Barry, Ms. Davalolio, Ms. Werthershire, Ms. Argenti, Mrs. McDougal, our recording secretary, and myself. Mr. Loesch was unable to attend due to a conflict. First on the agenda was the fiscal year 2026 budget inspection. And we received an update from the superintendent, which she just gave us. After that, we did discuss this happening an ongoing discussion in past our 2 year and a half, just to follow the base account, revolving account, to ensure that it is becoming self-sustaining. Ms. Argenti and Mr. Cowers gave an update on the status of the basic housing cut that we had been monitoring. At this time, we should close out the year with a cost of balance of $78,000. However, as of a revolving account, we started off the year with a deficit of $102, so we have still been playing catch-up. RVAC is still one of the programs running at a deficit despite control cost measures due to low enrollment in that program, which cannot support the staff needed to run it. Those students are in the process of moving to the rating and plug and write to the fall, and Mr. Impray and Mr. Powers are in the process of making more space at the Liberty for them at the rating and plug and write Kobe. The business department is going to be closing out their accounts and do a final accounting after the June 30th close of the fiscal year. So in July or August, we'll have final reports. So we can look at what going into next year, what the status will be. Do you have questions on that?
Did I make just a couple comments in general about 26 budget?
Yep.
Since that's the agenda, I don't do that. So I want to say, just for myself, I'm very disappointed with the town's Bridgewater right now. They ask us to produce a 5-year forecast of what we would do with the override money, and we provide that. I think we did a very conservative, realistic job of doing that. However, as you point out all the time, Ms. K, we don't control our top line rep. It comes from the state. It comes from the two towns, mostly from the two towns, maybe about 30-something% from the state, right? So we assumed that they could do a 3.4% increase annually to their assessment from us going forward. I don't know if that's what they can afford. I know if Bridgewater does all building they want, it's probably going to be more if they get the vision to reality. But we haven't gotten any feedback from them. As far as I know, and if I'm incorrect, I'm sure you or the superintendent will correct me, and I will apologize.
So we have done. So we work on Mr. Moretti on the 5-year sustainability plan.
But I mean, about that particular assumption in our
We have not.
rather think. All right, and then I just want to point out the minutes, because I feel like if you stay around long enough, everything you never get right. June 20, 2007, fiscal year 2008 budget committee update and readoption of fiscal year 2008 budget. The big discussion about Bridgewater having a hold around and failed by just a little bit. And Mr. John Donahue, chairman of Rainham Selection, thanked the committee. He noted that the vote came a little short, but short enough to justify the joint town meeting is suggested, according to these minutes. Mr. Vichico, also a Rainham selectman, stated that anything other than budget one, which is the budget that the school committee had proposed initially, is not acceptable. And so he noted that Ms. Bradley was obviously on the committee at the time, and Mr. Gillis moved that the committee vote to take the agenda item out of order, adoption of fiscal year 2008 budget, and it was voted unanimously. And then Ms. Bradley reminded Braintree voters to vote, etc. Mr. Gillis outlined the law that's available in the district as a Town regional, and that he thought the district should take advantage of the option of the joint town meeting that was available to it. Regardless of Brainham's vote outcome, the committee should move forward. There was continued discussion, and a motion was made and seconded, and it was voted unanimously. And I know you said we're taking up those motions for resolutions at our special meeting, I believe, to schedule for the 25th. But I did want to put the facts on the record before the over outcome. Thank you.
Thank you. So I can move up to that just to clarify that point too. On Thursday, June 5th, the school committee had a special school committee meeting to discuss and voted on Alphonse having me as chair on behalf of the school committee to formally request a 15-day extension for consideration, amendment, or recertification of the budget. As our time to obtain a fully certified budget by all parties, including the school committee and our two towns, expires on June 16th, prior to the special election scheduled for June 21st and 24th. That vote was approved, and I forwarded correspondence to acting commissioner on Jesse Cutweiler on Friday, June 6, 2025. It did receive a response today granting minutes, so we do have until June 30th, 2025 to reconsider, amend, or recertify our budget. So again, at our June 25th meeting that we will have following the Oakland special elections, we will need to do something. Either we recertify the budget that we had presented, we amend budgets, and go with a lower budget or the lower budget that the towns have already approved. We'll have to reconsider it at that time what our plan will be.
Thank you.
Going back to the other items, we did talk about the high school sports fees that be scheduled for 2026. After Mr. Powers have reviewed the amount of total fees, revenue, and expenses for the sports program at the middle and high school, he made a recommendation of potentially increasing the fee for fiscal year 2026 to $600 per athlete per sport to sustain the program. This would not, however, make it totally unsustainable. There are also other variables that many less athletes would sign up potentially with a fee increase. So that fee may not even be sufficient. The fall sports registration is omitted, but Mr. Powers and Athletic Director have put a hold on the fee payment right now. We tried to discuss club and extracurricular fees, and Mr. Powers recommended keeping the fee at $50 per foot, but has discussed with his admin regarding oversight and collection of fees and adding a trend for those few clubs that did travel. We did not take any action at that time and continue the discussion to the end of June, beginning of July, following special elections, where we'll know what we will need to do with those fees then. Mr. Powers discussed his plan for staffing and positions that the override did or did not pass. Which I'm going to keep touched on at this update. Also, Mr. Powers gave us an update on an efficiency audit that he is working on with the waste management and recycling contract. Mr. Powers have been working with Schooley Mitchell, which conducts efficiency audits of contracts within districts and corporations. They're currently reviewing our waste management and recycling contract. We have not received the contract yet, but their estimate is that they have identified a new vendor, which be at cost savings of $44,000 per year. Their fee for that would be 50% of the cost savings of the first 3 years of the contract, which is generally a 5-year contract. So once we see that, we'll bring that to the committee review. And if we want to go forward, we can do other utilities and vendors that we have in the district. Do you mind speaking to?
Absolutely.
Yeah, Madam Chair, could I just go for you?
Yes.
Mr. Powers, and just encourage the superintendent to reach out to both towns to have your administrator, see if we can get both of those towns on board doing an efficiency study as we've initiated ourselves, and perhaps get better price from the three of us as a combined, instead of 50%, maybe it's 40% of the savings they keep because it's a bigger number. I just encourage that if you think it's worth one outcome.
Yes, so we have started working with School Leadership. They are an efficiency auditing company. We started, just because it was new to us, we started with one area, was waste management and recycling. Because we are currently in a year contract with our vendor, we were able to not have the early termination fee should we decide to go with a different vendor. They did present us different options in terms of different vendors and different pricing schedules. Ready if we want to engage in a 3-year contract, 4-year contract, or 5-year contract. Obviously, the greatest savings comes entering into a multi-year, 5-year contract. I think to Mr. Cupper's early point, if we were to enter into some type of multi-year contract, it at least allows us to predict on a year basis of what our increase will be. And when we look at that, we're potentially looking at a 20% increase every year, where because we're a year contract right now, it varies anywhere from the 10% up to 20%, and to be back down to 9% the following year, then back up. So this will again allow us to greater predict what our costs will be. But we're waiting for the final contract. We just want to make sure that there's nothing that we're missing. And we do for the first 3 years that we work with them, do share any type of savings. And then obviously any type of savings after that would fully for the district. Once we decide that we're going for waste management and recycling, we are going to start tackling other areas of the district. Obviously, it's already started to work with Mr. Shans and Mr. Chaka and Ms. Babalola in terms of telecommunications, looking at that area that we're going to launch utilities. We can certainly look at supplies and materials, both for classroom supplies, facility supplies, although the process we use in terms of we are using purchasing, so that may not be necessary in savings there. But certainly there's other areas that we're going to continue to explore. And the great part about this is if they present an option for us and we decide not to go with it, there is no cost associated with that. And you simply share the savings if they identify savings. And the savings is well worth it, because obviously some of our contracts we've already entered into, and there may be an early termination fee. And if the savings is not going to be long-term greater than the early termination fee, they recommend us going in that direction. So we're more cautiously optimistic. We'll be able to identify some other areas of savings. And, again, it's just another effort that we're trying to take to be as efficient and fiscally conservative and responsible as possible.
Thank you, Mr. Powers. I know several community members, and it has been spoken at even top council and select board, but potentially doing an operational audit, which we kind of discussed as a committee or at budget. I think this is a good place to start with the evident conduct, an operational audit that be upwards of $200,000 or more. So it's something that we can bring to the table and talk about. It's just a very high in the stems right now, where we're looking at if the audit does not pass, we could have fast. So I think this is a good place to start to try and see, on a small scale, where the at any cost savings.
If I just might also add, I think our general expenses are maybe $10 million ish that we could look at to these efficiencies, even if we saved 10%, which I don't believe we can do. But even if we did, that's $1 million. And we need much more than that as it's increasing, which is why I keep saying the only way we can do more is with more. And we need to understand that as both tenants. Thank you.
Yes, I mean every little bit helps. But yes, it's negative millions of dollars when you say. Regarding E&D, Isabel stated we currently have approximately 2.2 million in E&D, which is our free cash. She is estimating that we have 1.9 million to certify at the end of this fiscal year into E&D for a total of 1.1 million. Once we close that fiscal year 2025 after June 30th, it's the year may change, but that's what she's approximating, estimated right now. We've already voted as a committee to take $2 million out of E&D to fiscal year 2026, which would leave us approximately at this estimation $2.1 million balance in E&D. Mr. Towers revisited if we wanted to consider using any additional money for E&D regarding $400,000, which we had discussed previously during the budget season. We declined to take any action at that time pending the special education and what staffing will look like. We are able, as we know, to have 5% of operational balance in E&D, and we have been using between $1.5 to $2 million year to year from E&D to supplement our budget. So I mean, we can revisit that if the override does not pass, but we know that we'll have approximately $2 million left in there. That's for any large capital expenses that we don't anticipate, any emergencies, supplementing future budgets, which is not a great practice. So to go below 2 million, we haven't really done. But we can revisit that into the summer, depending where I stand.
Ms. King, if I may, on that, sorry, Peter.
Yes.
What the two numbers that are most important in what you just read out is that we're going to end the year able to certify $1.9 billion to E&D if everything plays out.
I was saying it's an estimate.
Yes, and if everything plays out, yes. And so that means we spent or we received revenue $1.9 million more than we budgeted either way, right? But we're taking $2 million from E&D. So we're using everything that we saved this year plus more to go into next year's budget. And that's all one-time revenue. It doesn't come back to us. You know, we've been lucky with some interest rates. We've been lucky with some other stuff going on, but you can't expect it all the time. And eventually the chickens are going to come out to roost on that, and you're going to run out of E&D. And that's going to look ugly as well, which is why we need to be responsible with our budgeting. And as it presents a 5-year plan that is very responsible. Thank you.
Thank you. Also, regarding the audit, as we know, DESE does a financial audit of the district, an operational audit of the district every year, and we also do a third-party external audit. That audit should be available by the end of the week for us to review. Mr. Fitzgibbons at Budget this have requested that the auditor attend one of our next available meetings to report out on it and take questions. Once I sent that out with the auditor, I will take questions previously prior to this meeting from members so then prepare and have the explanationers 10 responses for those as well. Next on the budget sub-agenda was IT stabilization request. Mr. Powers indicated Mr. Shaw's purchase request for Chromebooks for fiscal year 2026 for the one-to-one program is $265,080. He was able to use grant funding for some for one-to-ones. We have allocated in our fiscal year 2026 operational budget $100,000 for Chromebook purchases. And, you know, we did cut many lines trying to get down to a lower budget. But that $100,000 is not meeting the amount that we need to purchase for the Chromebooks for next year. Accordingly, Mr. Powers has requested that the shortfall of $165,080 be transferred from the IT stabilization fund that the state of Virginia has set up. As we know, if we transfer annually $1,000 to $100,000 into that IT stabilization fund for a year for that purpose. Mr. Schott have been able to use grants for several miscellaneous years in a row for a large portion of those covering those expenses. And we have generally also allocated $200,000 in our budget for common purposes. This year, that line item was cut as these lines were, and it is not the total amount that we need. We currently have $755,889 in the IT stabilization account. Accordingly, I will entertain a motion to approve the transfer from the Bridgewater Rainham Regional School District IT Stabilization Fund in the amount of $165,080 to purchase of Chromebooks totaling $265,000. Ellen.
Second.
A motion by Mrs. Conlon Renter, second by Mr. Bowden. Do I have questions on that or comments? All those in favor?
All right.
Any opposed? Lastly, we just approved the May 12, 2025 budget subcommittee minutes. All similar to it is my measure. So actually, I do have a couple of rants. I apologize. Just some notes regarding budget-related updates. Monday, June 2nd, Mr. Powers and I attended the Bridgewater info session at the Bridgewater Public Library. On Tuesday, June 3rd, Mr. Powers and I attended the Rainham Override info session at Rainham Town Hall for this is Riley from the 40 display panel that was live and replayed. On Thursday, June 5th, 2025, Mr. Boyce and I met with the fiscal 2026 working year. In attendance were also Mr. Powers, these from the Ready, Tom Councilor Studios, Chad Riley from Rainier Select Board, and FinCon committee member Josh Lewandowski. At that time, we were discussed updates and the timeline of the special elections. I've already initiated the June for special school committee meeting. June 6th, Superintendent Powers attended the Bridgewater Override info session at the Senior Center. On June 10th, Superintendent Powers and I attended the Bridgewater info session here in the lecture hall. And that evening, we also attended the Rainham info session at the Rainham Town Hall. So I'm definitely trying to get to the annual meetings to get the word out. Today, June 11th, I did receive correspondence from Acting Deputy Commissioner Tutwiler approving our June 6th request, granting the 15-day extension to reconsider, amend, or recertify the budget, which currently expires on June 13th. Accordingly, our budget deadline to have a certified budget from both towns and the school committee is June 30th, 2025. Tentatively, our next budget subcommittee meeting could be July 7th at 5:30. Remaining to me what the heck, but you can just see together. And that ends my budget. Next on the agenda, we have Fierce Conrad Laverisville with her column, the good ones. And thanks, King. One thing I just wanted to notice, Miss King, is there are actually policies that don't actually do that. And new business, the new schedule, the big policy. Is it going to be a vote? Yes. I don't know if it's going to be a vote. Should we wait? Yes, we can wait. Yeah, we can wait. There. No, that's fair enough. I just wanted to know where you were there. My wish wait. So on June 10th, the policy subcommittee made first up on this was Mr. Duffro, Mrs. Hoy Thomas, Mrs. Keeley, and myself. At the time, as I said, there were reviewed 5 policies, but tonight we have 4 of them. It was requested that the committee is pulled over, review the BBA school committee with hours and duties. The policy subcommittee again reviewed this policy and felt there were no changes necessary and felt it was better to make the policy for all no action is taken, necessary or taken. The next policy that was reviewed was the competency determination. Due to changes in the impasse, each district must create a policy regarding competency. The committee reviewed a suggested new policy and felt that it might be helpful to wait for the guidance from DESE. Mr. Powers and Mr. Berries informed us there was no deadline for implementing their policy. They discussed recent competency surveys that DESE had sent out and the role that that survey may play. Just as an FYI, the VR high school student handbook already has graduation requirements in it, so it wouldn't be a new, any change in policy would not be new to the students. At age range
in the handbook would take effect immediately. Mr. Cowers and the policy subcommittee both agreed we should table the competency/graduation requirement policy until the state provides forward guidance. Policy subcommittee agreed to bring back the policy and the call for further review, and no action is taken. Any question on this, but Brian, go on to this one. Fine. The next policy we reviewed was on Title IX. Due to changes in the changes in administration at the federal level, in light of legal advice, we must revert to our previous policy that was in place in 2020. We updated our policy in the fall of 2024. Referring to local policy as a housekeeping measure, as violating the Title IX policy, these could potentially impact district funding. While we don't get Title IX funding, any violation of federal requirements could put us in jeopardy for any federal funding. So we must go back to adhering to the old policy. And one thing I do want to say is even adhering to the old policy we had placed in 2020, it doesn't change any of the practice of the district and our commitment to a safe learning environment. So at this time, I would make a motion to adopt the Title IX policy previously approved in April.
Joe, second.
Second.
Seth, let's toward on this. Godly. Do we have discussion? I'm sorry. Do we have discussion?
Just a quick observation. Ms. Conrad, maybe Ms. Powers. When you say could affect Fed funding, that includes any Medicare, Medicaid funding we might get for special needs students that could be coming to the district.
It's really Department of Education funding. I know I speak to Mr. Powers, the Department of Education funding. Medicaid funding is not Department of Education.
But it's federal, so you never know. You never know these things.
Well, I think that's where we're really trying to err on the side of caution is that unfortunately you don't know, and so although we can kind of trace these dollars to where they originate, there's real guarantee that funding wouldn't be impacted should it start coming by a certain family.
Like,
But this is early within the district, and we're not changing.
Correct. In terms of citizen, talking to Frank to find out as a to provide a safe environment, great support measures in place for our students should they find themselves in a time and situation. None of that would change.
That's up five things. All those in favor?
all right,
Right. Yes. What was the last day? And guess phrase it first. Yeah, do we quick that tip? I'm sorry, as the verb most send you to withdraw. Can you put that as a motion? It's in first read for waive the first read. Sorry, I just didn't know if it was already policy we have, so okay. Sorry. So things substantially changing. Yes, starting it and should be the same. So yes, it was a motion to waive the first read. Thank you. There's all those up being over very good. Sorry. The next is technical. It was a request around technical education. I will say this kind of rain thing. It's the learning. Just and please ask questions because it is. I would say it's complicated.
There's some at it.
Yeah, it's weak. Mr. Powers brought forth this out of conversations. This request of conversations with the department with DESE as Bridgewater. The town of Bridgewater does not have an agricultural school, and the students in Bridgewater have flexibility to choose one. With this, putting forward a policy that would address technical education, it's really agricultural education. It requires Bridgewater to provide transportation and tuition. It's all the responsibility of the town of Bridgewater. But even though it's the town of Bridgewater responsibility, the superintendent must still approve the placement request. This was brought forth because recently a Bridgewater student applied for an out-of-county school, agricultural school, prompting this conversation and about the expenses surrounding the out-of-county school choice. Just for clarifications, Wayne County does not have an agricultural school. a student may choose any school in Massachusetts that has the offering, potentially creating high transportation costs should the student choose to go to a school far away. Mr. Powers checked with DESE to see if the school district could require a student to choose a closer school available. DESE said that the policy could be written but would have no teeth as it is within the right of the student to choose that school. To clarification, because I was unaware of this, agricultural schools are tooling based or vocational and are regionally based. And not all counties have agricultural schools, such as the case with Plymouth and Bridgewater County, for Plymouth County and Bridgewater. Therefore, a policy would not negate the potential for students to choose any agricultural school in Massachusetts. So this policy, since creating that policy did not give the school district any more authority over the student's choice at agricultural schools, the committee felt that we were not going to take action and create a policy. Because in questions, the people understand this. So when you live back where you are, yes, like it is the town, or yes, because we have Raymond has this is just Bridgewater because there is no agricultural school in Plymouth County. Any other questions?
I believe the town of Bridgewater sends students who are interested in eligible education to.
That's the student's choice, but the student could choose actually to go to any area.
But generally, it's not.
Generally, it's Norfolk, but a student could choose to go anywhere, and the town is responsible to pay that tuition and transportation.
Yeah, and so we're just updating with policy.
We don't trample policy. No district actually has a policy.
Oh, so we're blazing new traits.
Well, we are not. What we said is we are not going to create a policy. This is between the town with the
Right. Yeah.
We're not.
We're going blaze a new trail, saying it's up to you guys because it's what it's always.
Well, it's always been. So we have type policy, so we're leaving it as it is.
That's fine.
We're going to stay out of it. We're going to stay out of it.
Yeah.
The student are able to choose where they want to go and
Thank you.
announce responsibly. So no actions taken. And I believe that is it because we will move the piece of the policy to ECOSP. Thank you. Sorry, I didn't realize that. Nope. I didn't need a twice.
So the Title IX one will be a second read at the next meeting, and then they'll put first read and then be separate. Thank you. Next, we have new business, superintendent evaluation, which I will read out. The the word 2025 long-range subcommittee recommended and put forward goals for Superintendent Powers, which were voted upon and approved by the school committee. At our May 2025 school committee meeting, the school committee members were asked to prepare their individual evaluations of Superintendent Powers. I received evaluations from 6 school committee members and 2 former school committee members, which were compiled into one summative school committee evaluation report based on the preponderance of individual ratings, including all comments. I will now read the superintendent's evaluation into the record, following which I will entertain a motion to approve the summative evaluation. And Mr. Collins was provided a draft of this to review the aid. Following board, I read it into the back. Regarding step 1, the assessment progress toward goals, professional practice goal, he received a value of met. Regarding his student learning goals, he received a value of net. It's clear. And district improvement goal, she also received a goal of net. Regarding step 2, assess performance on standards. Regarding standard 1, instructional leadership, he received a proficient. Regarding standard 2, management and operations, he received a proficient. Regarding standard 3, family and community engagement, he received a full proficient. Regarding standard 4, professional culture, he also received proficient. Regarding step 3, the overall summative performance based on step 1 and step 2, he received a vote of sufficient. Step 4, evaluator comments. These are a compilation of the comments by school committee members. The superintendent is a good educational leader. He needs to make greater strides in his understanding of his staff's ability to be proactive and consultative in their approach to contracts, budgeting, etc. Mr. Powers has shown leadership, professionalism, and commitment to our staff, our students, and their families. He welcomed new staff, families, and students throughout the year in a manner that was supportive and showed his strong leadership and character. We work with staff, school committee members, and community members to ensure we are moving a budget toward that is balanced, a budget forward that is balanced and reflects the needs of the district. Mr. Powers made a positive impact on the district in a way he gave his families, youth, staff, and community members. He made sure to include everyone and shows that they want to meaningfully engage with the community. Overall, Mr. Powers had a solid year in a challenging environment. He can navigate the budget process with more confidence than the prior year, and again advocated for ways to lead the district meeting. This next school committee effort, overall evaluation for Superintendent Powers is a rating of proficient. He had finished his second year as the superintendent for the district. He is very active within the community, both during and after school hours, attended events, not only school related but also town related. He communicates in a professional and timely manner. He is always quick to respond when called upon. This school committee member had first-hand experience of this when they had reached out on inquiries they had, or when also copied on communications from caregivers within the community. Mr. Powers is always in attendance for meetings to give updates, no matter if it's a Monday school committee meeting or subcommittee meeting. Personally, this school committee member's favorite goal was created at the beginning of the year when the district improvement goal number 2 of beginning to develop a unified sports program at the high school level for students with disabilities and student partners. The initial year turned out to be better than they would have imagined. The district was not only able to implement 1 but 2 programs, a unified strength and conditioning program and a unified track and field program. They are really excited to see the continued success of this program. Similar to surrounding towns and many within the Commonwealth, this has been a challenging year with particular concerns about funding. Similar to last year's feedback, the school committee as well as the superintendent all and the needs improvement in this area. This member recommends Superintendent Powers continue to work with this financial part of the administration to develop models to forecast at least 5 years out with conservative assumptions to stay on top of the budget and anticipated funding. This will be very important regardless of the outcome of the override campaign. Mr. Powers has truly made every effort to put forth a budget that is in the best interest of the students and the district, and has made all efforts to advocate and work with his administration, school committee, and local channels to make a budget that is a reality to our district based on feedback from students, staff, and the community, which he took into consideration when working toward this budget. I know for various some of these goals that Mr. Powers may not have done anything that, and also upon the school committee for setting arbitrary and unreasonable definitive percentages or number of meetings, rather than raw or overall literally. Mr. Powers has been a consummate professional throughout this year. He placed a budget that was not a wish list. It was an honest review of the student district and truly what was the children need and deserve. Looking at a student learning goal, the administration pulled up just short 16% goal. That is significant progress. Regarding superintendent performance, I'm a student learning goal. Mr. Powers received a MET goal. Regarding professional practice goal, Mr. Powers received a MET goal. Regarding district improvement goal 1, he received a MET goal. Regarding district improvement goal 2, he received a MET goal. The superintendent's performance rating for standard 1, instructional leadership. Performance indicator IE, data informed decision making. For this focus indicator, he received a proficient goal. Or focus indicator of IDEP for student learning, Mr. Powers received proficient. Right, overall framing for this standard as proficient. Comments regarding this are Mr. Powers said he generally solid reports. Superintendent's group inventorying for standard 2, management and operations. Focus indicator 2E, fiscal systems. For this focus indicator, Mr. Powers received an overall rating of proficient for an overall rating in this standard of proficient. Regarding comments on this, the indicator aligned to the standard revolves around our fiscal budget. It has been a challenging few years since COVID and not being able to anticipate and forecast funding due to inflationary pressures and inadequate funding formula by the state. With the increased cost of special ed, transportation, insurance, etc., our budget is facing a large shortfall just to maintain loan services funded fiscal year. The town's currently in the midst of an override campaign to obtain the deficit of funding when the result is still unknown. Superintendent Howes, along with his admin team and some budget members, did draft up a high-level and conservative 5-year plan if we would to secure the funds. However, this member did not give his voice, felt that this was rather reactionary, as we did not build it prior to requesting the override. This member felt that this should become a common practice and what our relentless practice be done year over year to continue to be transparent with the community. This member believes that there was some system in place, but we would have been able to notice this need for sooner. This member does know that we did anticipate it to some extent and stated it, but they did not believe that this bottom deficit would be this large in only a year. At least this member did not, and did not hear anyone else raising alarm flags as such either. The $6 million deficit we are facing without an override is quite large, and we are asking for the largest override by far in the history of my towns. Overall, it was a close call on these improvement and proficient for this year, but they led with needs improvement to issue a challenge to the superintendent on financial management. It is their opinion Mr. Crowley's needs to enhance the skill of his finance team to project and not merely report results and outcomes of various financial scenarios and future scenarios. The administration and school committee must make real-time, long-term decisions based upon the information financial team provides. While it is great to know we are performing as expected, it is much more important to know how we might perform in the future under a variety of scenarios. Mr. Powers did develop a needs-based budget that promotes learning and growth of our students, as the indicator suggests, but it is not a burden that should fall squarely on his shoulders to ensure that it is being funded by the towns and the state. The school committee shoulders part of this responsibility to be fiscally responsible and ensure that Mr. Powers has all available resources to assist him, especially in light of him being a new superintendent and faced with the huge burden of an uncertain budget next year. Superintendent's performance rating for standard 3, family and community engagement. Focus indicator 3 daily engagement. Mr. Powers received a rating of condition. Regarding focus indicator 3B, sharing responsibility, Mr. Powers received a focus indicator of efficient. And the only comment on this was generally solid for performance in this area. Regarding superintendent's performance rating for standard 4, professional culture. This indicator 4B, cultural proficiency, Mr. Powers received a rating of proficient. Regarding communication, focus indicator 4C, Mr. Powers received a rating of proficient. For the overall rating for the standard of professional culture of proficiency. The only comments we received was communication by this audience has grown tremendously, meaning the community at large, and another member would a more timely response to phone calls would be appreciated. That is the completion of the student evaluation submitted report. I will entertain a motion to approve the superintendent submitted evaluation report for the 2024-2025 school year as presented and read into the record. So made. Motion by Ms. Downford, second by Ms. Schieffer-Skinner. Doing on comments.
Just a quick comment, and you can correct me if I'm wrong. The ratings are where the majority of people put a check mark, so that people may have a bit higher or lower, but you're not averaging them, you're just taking where the majority be.
Yes, it is based on the preponderance of where the big things were.
So right.
Yeah.
And his goal is to make proficient for that, which there were some higher and some lower, but overall, he either is a professional on that, or there is some oddments and
Like it,
that's a little bit. That's been.
Wait, I actually have a question on the top piece of that, like where the nets are and stuff. Because like it doesn't necessarily like if you stop meeting it, but really like it's a multi-year full or something, right? Out into making progress, or are these like? Because that's how I read it, right? Like one of them was like 60%, like and I actually have a number. We just like hit the number. Now I just have a question like, how do we say like he meant that? Like, gosh, like I didn't look at that as being like a negative, right? If you didn't read it, if we're making like progress to it.
So that was one that was kind of all over the place. The general amount of people saying that they read, so I put it as
No, and I understand that you do that. I guess
it is. It's a subjective thing. That's why I personally, I hate when they put a percentage, like he must be 60%, like percent or whatever it was, because then you're locking into that. Well, if you meet the school, or if you make it, then get through.
so when MANC came and they actually have like a discussion on those before we meet these goals, they actually recommend to be specific. Like then that's part of SMART goals. So that was part of the reasoning why we made that because they wanted it to be a specific target. Like it wasn't, so it's not, right? Like, so I guess I'm explaining like why we had the basic quest.
Kind of a fine line of making it super specific to base, because if it's super specific, it has to be attainable thing. If you're not sure if it's going to be attainable, because
well, we didn't extend anything that Mr. Powers didn't think she would attain. So, like, I guess because it was a discussion, it was a partnership between the subcommittee and Mr. Powers when we create.
So I would just say just the stat report for me, when I looked at that student growth, I think it's the student learning goal, right?
Yeah.
There are so many things, and their end is just not one thing, which became problematic for me.
Well, I think the goal, though, if you look at the overall goal, it specifically says the 60%. So it's, you know, that's all the stuff that if you like, we could use for evidence and stuff. So I guess it's more like maybe like next year when we do the two, like we all kind of calibrate. Because I didn't look at like significant progress as bad, right? Like, so, but I guess like
he made a huge improvement.
but right, yeah, right. So I guess like, I don't know, because some of the ratings, I'm not saying everybody should be the same, but where there's such a read, it's almost like we should all calibrate on not like what we're answering, but like how we're doing. And I think when the MSD, and I know everybody was available when we were, I think, giving it Nathan our subcommittee, but like he was very like articulate, and like we looked at like last year's too, he was very like giving this feedback on, so that's why the like the direction we did, and I guess I'm just explaining why we have the specifics and actually,
Yeah. So then maybe next year, I'm Mr. Wilshire in this non-range chair for next year. So maybe that's a conversation with that. So maybe that bring to
yeah.
what your thought process is. I will Mr. how his ways in on his goals. And we went, I know that he would have agreed to that goal here to gain such goal. But I think maybe for us in evaluating him, so yes, maybe we should go and think that yes, there was a broad range of some.
And I think they did really good in that goal. I mean, we did in the team, but that's why I was like, didn't we carry like it did so not like news? Like, is it something that you carry over and we continue to attain to the goals? Like, I think every year from year there is good news. So I guess they'll be true.
Well, and I think what I saw before is some districts actually have, and Mr. Welsh would say, is some superintendent goals in other districts are multi-year goals. Versus them always being a one-year goal. So I think you can vary some of the goals that the goals are a 2-year goal versus a 1-year goal. Again, our goals are always set that are a 1-year goal versus a multi-year.
It would also depend on the duration plan,
Right.
right? There's a 2-year plan. And so I think for the process was as characteristic of this being a chair disconnect, was that I really did propose because of goals and feedback and what's going to be attainable. So it was a very fun and enjoyed process. And I think we really did pay our due diligence as some committee to ensure that he felt confident that he was playing the state job and everything.
And yeah. Gosh, did go to the and it is. Yeah, and I mean, maybe that's a conversation too. Yeah, that the stern how is that then to get together? But so maybe both forward do on the function that it's like maybe it's at pressure tail and board buffer.
It's definitely something to entertain and to part of the discussion with the likelihood of you. So,
Seeing none, no other questions on we have a motion in the table. All those in favor?
All right.
I should
Yes.
Thanks, Johnson. Thank you.
Next, we have the appointment of the Director of Student Services. Superintendent Powers has offered the position of Director of Student Services to Dr. Jonathan D'Angelo, who has accepted. She comes to us most recently as the Director of Student Services in Benton Elton.
Would you like to give? Absolutely, yes. It gives me great pleasure to introduce Dr. Jennifer D'Angelo. As you know, as I've updated the committee, we had a pretty extensive search process for our next Director of Student Services, and even the search committee, we feel very excited and very strong that we have found the right person. So much so when I share this with Jen, she hadn't even left the room and made them so like go get her, don't let her.
Yes.
They knew, and I think the whole team felt that way. We were actually able to spend the day together. Jen been down a couple of times just to go through the onboarding process, but we're going to spend the day together today and visit all of our schools with Mrs. Barry, and it was really just great to see the excitement. Good news has traveled, and as you would expect, some of our staff members have reached out or made connections to other districts where Dr. Angel has worked, and all three days, rolling the years, that committee was made up of educators and parents, and again, just the excitement is traveling. We're very excited for her to end with your approval on July 1. And as you know, we've had some challenges over the last number of years in our student service department. Mr. Having on board this year, was able to bring some stabilizing presence to that department. He was so thankful for his time in the district and all the efforts that he made. But we're completely as excited about what it's all having the roles for our student services environment under the leadership role. Oh, shit.
Do you want to say, I need to chat. That's the talking they can put them. So, thank you so much for advocating. I'm excited for this opportunity. I wasn't necessarily job searching, but I saw this opportunity come up, and I had done some research, and I thought it's a really good fit for me. So I went through the process. The first thing was great. I walked into a room with 15 staff members and educators, and I walked out being modest. It's really something special here. So every time I get back to the district, whether it's for paperwork or meet and greets, that safe feeling is happening. So I'm really excited to start July 1. I'm excited to get going and do the hard work and support our student care staff. And we're so thankful. No, we're so glad to have you. I know that department has had some turnover, and the special education department, it's something that is very near and dear to Evans. And we have been hearing from parents and community that we need someone in there that knows what they're doing, has the empathy for it, and also can manage everything. So we're so happy. I know that you're happy with us, and we're so happy to have you there. That has been one of the lessons. That has been something that is talking to meeting after meeting, that we need someone in there that's definitely going to be like this Harry said, stable in his program, have that empathy and get things under control and compliance wise and get the services that you just need, but like they should have, and extend that. So thank you.
I met.
Yes.
I missed doctor.
George, that.
I don't know. Tim Fitzgibbons. I'm gonna say it to you in our introductory meeting because you're gonna hear me say it over and over again in many different contexts. I got that my school committee colleagues is probably secondly saying this, how we treat our most vulnerable students is how we should be judged as a district. And thank you for stepping up to this opportunity. And I'm forward to what you did for those children. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Well, and thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And after July, we'll not be reaching out to all of you just to have the full conversations and here to talk. So I look forward to that time with each school. Thank you, Coach, and thank you. So do I have I will entertain a motion to appoint Dr. Jennifer D'Angelo as the new Director of Student Services as of July 1st, 2025.
So moved.
To by Davenport, second by Mrs. Boyne Thomas. Any other questions? All those in favor?
I
Motion passed. Thank you. Mr. Powers, I know we'll use lots of interviews and then what's through with another set of interviews because it wasn't even right then. So I just really appreciate that.
It was important for us to get this right, and we didn't want to, as I shared with you, even rush the process. And we had to delay in masks to running to stay on longer. There were certain people wanted to do that, but we got it right, and so very excited. And the team looks.
It takes a much longer. Appointment of the school physician, we're going to continue to next month. It's not available this evening, and the contract was not available yet from the extension. So we're ready for that.
Did you want to add, Chair? Just write some projects about that. So Dr. Gandhi, who's been our long standing student physician, is actually indicated that he is retired. And so that prompted us to begin the search for a position. And we will be, as featuring recommending Dr. Buse as well. No one's other than population. He serves as a medical director and advisor to many side departments. He is an emergency room physician and also a school physician out of system. So we will be bringing in for him, but I just wanted to provide some background as to why the change in this. Yeah.
Next on the agenda, we have a vote of support for Fish One in process also to involve in the best fields. And I believe to
Sure, I'm happy to. Yes, the Bridgewater Lacrosse program is seeking one, just a letter of support from the school committee. It'll be doing similar outreach to the town of Bridgewater. They will be applying for a conservation committee grant that will allow them to revitalize the practice fields that they utilize. If you may or may not know, they currently yes, I'm sorry, that big yes thing. They use the Bridgewater Middle School fields of Ida School, and so they're looking to actually kind of wrap around any different elements of improving the fields. They also going to be able to maybe the surface, potentially reseed, put in irrigation, put in electrical. They also are come to fitting wrapping in the tennis courts to update those. They go on including or build a wallboy station which spreads across. It's a way for students or players to develop stick skills. They basically are just hitting, throwing the ball against the wall and catching it. And so they want to be able to construct that as well. And we're excited. They obviously are excited about the potential, but because it's going to be on a scaling, it's a top facility. They just really are requesting a letter of support for them to move forward with this part of the application project. I did in conversation with them just to be sure that we will still have access to these fields, and not something that the things will be put up and locked and there'll be a unit, because obviously our students are out there as well during the school day, whether it be in class or in areas because of all other activities and the shortness and that
And they're also getting a letter of support from Bridgewater.
Yes, that is correct. That's my understanding, is that as part of the application process, they can there's a warning ball.
And then I'll entertain a motion to forward a letter of support on behalf of this in favor of Bridgewater process grant for monthly to upon the BMS fields.
So move.
The motion made by Ms. Fitzgibbons and seconded by Mrs. Kyle Convergent. We have other questions or comments from this item. All those in favor?
Aye.
You votes? Thank you. So all of our comment letters get agree. Next, we have approval of general ledger warrants dated Egg 2025. I will entertain a motion to approve Taylor. General ledger warrants dated May 29th, 2025.
So moved.
Motion made by Mr. Fitzgibbons. Do I have a second? Second by Mr. Davenport. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And you have fun. Mr. Motion is. Yeah. Any other business? We have another section of public comment. Do we have anyone that would like to answer the comment?
Help.
Paul Conrad, president of Bridgewater Educational Station.
Yes.
Just want to thank the negotiation subcommittee for their tireless work over the last 2 years. Come up with a necessary target for the working agreement that we before they use it in the next years that improve the following education for our children.
Thank you, Mr. Conley.
Thank you.
Much time close by comments. Next, I have some announcements. Wednesday, June 18th, 2025 is a half day in the last day of school. Saturday, June 21st, it's Bridgewater special election. The polls are open from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. at the Bridgewater Middle School. On Tuesday, June 24th, 2025, Rainham special election, and the polls are open from cutting off to 8 p.m. at Rainham Middle School. We will have a special school committee meeting that has been scheduled following the special elections on Wednesday, June 25th at 7 p.m. at Rainham Middle School in Auditorium. And our next regularly scheduled school committee meeting is Wednesday, July 23rd, 2025 at the Rainham Middle School Auditorium. To end in the numbers, attendance, this way, Thomas.
Thank you, Chairwoman. Just what the Bridgewater Radio Educational Foundation is having a Breakout Night on August 4th at Bridgewater State University. So it's a great STEM event for kids in grades 1 through 4 and separate group for 5 through 8. And you can sign up on BridgewaterEducationalFoundation.com.
And a great chance for TJ to recruit.
You have to have it figured out. And what else? I will entertain a motion to adjourn our June 2025 school committee meeting at 8:39.
It's a
Motion made by Ms. Thomas. Do I have a second? Then it's second by Ms. Conrad Mamarento. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank